Welcome back to Diamond Dongs. I mean, Dong 64.
I really like the deep political intrigue in the Donkey Kong 64 storyline. That really has me fascinated to the point where I want to write fan fiction.
We stay away from fan fiction.
What is the definition of fan fiction anyway?
Fiction made by fans of like a series. That's that's just how like what I
So like the
that's
Sonic and Amy comic things that are really
if
disgusting.
so if there's like a
What's that called?
series if there's like a series and I wanted to write something about it, whatever that might be, like, some type of story about it, um, because it's not the original creator's canon, then it's fan fiction.
Oh, all right.
I'm eating chocolate chip cookies.
Oh, so here's the part now. Like, we're gonna have like either one massive jump cut or a whole bunch of them. Because at this point, I think I'm 10 bananas short, and I'm missing a balloon.
Hmm. How many bosses do we have left to fight?
Okay, we have the water one. Did I do the Crystal Caves one yet?
I don't think so.
Okay, did I glitch into Crystal Caves at least once yet?
I don't remember seeing any glitching into Crystal
I
Cave.
think you might have, but I don't want to like. I don't want to say you have for sure.
So wait, we didn't go through any part where I took Donkey Kong and basically moon jumped.
It looks like. No, I think we did something like that. Like
Okay,
we were in.
then I did the Crystal Caves boss. So we had and we did Fungi Forest. So at this point, uh, we only have two bosses left. One if you don't want to count the final boss.
Mhm. How do you guys like feel about these names? Like we've this terminology we've sort of come up with in video games. Mini bosses, final bosses, bosses. Um, do you guys like that? Because to me, I really do like it quite a bit. But I know some people that aren't too keen on that.
Well, I mean, it sounds good to me. I mean, you can't really call them anything else to an area. Like, you have an area, you have your boss of that area.
Well, I think it's kind of like a shortcut, right? Like, so we use this stuff to say, like, um, it's easier for me to say, oh, that boss of an area versus saying that big kind of person you sort of fight in that one place. Or, it's just easier to say that. Um,
Of course,
I,
nobody's not going to say all that.
we could agree that that means like milk. We could agree that, oh, that boss in the area, like, it's not boss, it's milk. But it's the same thing. As long as like we agree that that's what that means, that's fine. But the point of like us using, I think, these like short words to like describe this sort of thing is just because it's easier.
True, but then again, I'd rather use the word obstacle.
Hmm.
Well, like any other boss to the game, I'd be like, okay, it's boss, mini boss, and if it's the last boss of the game, I'd be like the final challenge.
And then Big Boss, which you completely correct the game that said term is from by naming your main character as such, and could just completely take a huge shit on the story and make the story not canon to itself.
I don't know.
I have not seen a video of that. Is if anyone happens to be watching this that knows Metal Gear Solid 5, I would like a link to a video where someone names their main their main profile Big Boss. So when they played the secret ending, the the whole thing just the whole thing being canon just went out the window. As soon as you see that the new ID.
Yeah. My, my view of like creative authority though is just whatever the creators like say is canon is canon.
Yeah.
Unless if you break that canon in the game, which is what naming your character Big Boss does. It breaks the canon.
And here's me trying to shoot that balloon with a harder control scheme, because why not? It's much easier to shoot that balloon when you're standing on the ground than when you're flying and have the control going all over the place. So Lanky's missing a golden banana, and I have no idea where that one is.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where his bananas are. I'm trying to remember where the hell is Lanky's last banana?
That saxophone.
See, I don't have this much trouble with the other levels. Except the last one where, once again, I'm missing 10 balloons from Chunky and I couldn't find the last balloon.
But are you saying that this is your least favorite level in the game?
Yeah. It's easier to get lost and lose track of where the bananas you collected were than the castle one, which is even more complex and more labyrinth-like than this one. I had an easier time tracking the labyrinth level over this one. And this entire playthrough I did without a guide. The entire playthrough I went off of memory, except when I thought that the game was trolling me, and I went to a guide to verify that I'm not like losing it. And the guide confirmed that I was remembering everything right. It's just the game was being a big dickhole.
So, why do you like these games, these Donkey Kong games, above the 2D Donkey Kong Country games?
Well, because I'd simply take this 3D adventure platformer over a 3D Mario adventure platformer, and there's been too many of them. Too many Mario games, and then all the 3D platformers that Nintendo's had were nothing but Mario.
I think it might be cool to get like some type of Kirby game in this sort of style.
Yeah.
I mean, at least it'd be kind of original.
Yeah. And I think the reason why like there has been like barely any Donkey Kong games is I think when Rare was with Nintendo, Rare would just like make these games whenever the hell they felt like it and ask Nintendo's approval to have it published, because it's Nintendo's IP. Because I don't think anyone was asked. I don't think Nintendo specifically asked for this game to happen, but it just sort of did. But I still want another one like this, because I'm starting to get tired of seeing Mario, because those are way too easy. And when blind runs is a walk in the park, because the game has to, purely because the game has to be that way, and it doesn't offer anything to balance out that empty gap, then I'm going to lose interest in it, and I'm not gonna have fun.
Shoot, that's the same for all games these days. Really, all these games these days are too easy.
I
I
think
still have
games
hopes
have.
for I still have hopes for Nintendo not following this trope, but sadly they're following this trope even more.
I think like a lot of games today probably are easier, but I also think that they have like a lot more content in them, so it's sort of like just
More
um
stuff to do, but it's
Yeah,
like too
yeah.
easy. And
It's
for
more
me,
stuff to do, but I
I
mean,
want the game
challenge.
to I want the game to like either kick my ass or
yeah, you still want a game that's
like
challenging.
put up a fight, not just like, okay, here's a lot of MacGuffins to do it.
hmm
There's nothing
Mhm.
stopping you
it's
from
just yeah,
making
yeah,
sure.
yeah. No, I totally get that. One thing though is like so back then, like for example, a lot of like a lot of NES games, um, they had to be really difficult, um, because they couldn't be that big because they didn't have much space. They were NES games, and people didn't know how to like utilize that space much. So in order to create a game with like a lot of value, um they had to make something that was like pretty difficult.
The difficulty to drag it out, but like when you do it right, it's a good game no matter how short it is. But when you do
hmm
it just to drag the game out, like some of those, there's a game that has only four short ass levels, but they make it Kaizo hard to just to drag out the playtime. That's not fun.
a good example might be in a way like Ghost and Goblins, where it's like the game's pretty hard. You beat the game, and then they're like, now if you really want to beat the game, you got to do it twice.
Yeah, like those those I could be fine with being difficult, ball bustingly difficult and short, but when games it's just when the games are being uh, stupid difficult in order to drag out the playtime. That's when it does the exact opposite of what it's intended to do.
Mhm.
So it's like I want a game to be challenging, but I don't want a game to be lazy hard. Just to make the game short and publish it as quick as possible.
Well, I think when like determining difficulty, like a lot of it comes into like who's your audience, um, is are you making like the balance appropriate for like who you're like who you're trying to attract.
Yeah,
Um,
and it turns out like from the looks of it at least, uh, in terms of true difficulty, the Donkey Kong series still has not failed to deliver that. Because
so
with
you
Tropical Freeze, it is no Tropical Freeze is no 3D World. It's no 3D World or it's no Mario U.
Mhm.
It's like the playing Tropical Freeze is the equivalent of doing 70 variations of the what's it called, Champions Road in 3D World. It's the equivalent of doing that.
so you're saying that Tropical Freeze is like like it's still a pretty difficult game.
Now we'll get to see through all of that when I record a playthrough of that for the channel, which I'm gonna need like an entire year dedicated to that somewhere, or an entire chunk of a year.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
then I'd want to have I'd want to enjoy it, and I'd also want to take my time because first time I played it blind, I beat it in under a week.
Yeah.
Blind.
But
I didn't look up any playthroughs. I didn't see any gameplays prior. I'm just that good at my favorite franchise, and people called bullshit on it. They're like, it should have taken you at least 3 months. Well, if you're familiar with gaming, it shouldn't. The only time
but
it would do that, or it would take at least that long, is if you're new to gaming at all, or if you're coming fresh out of the Call of Duty oven. not knowing what the frick a
but
platformer is, or
anyway,
played way too much Mario and have not played an actually challenging platformer before, then
anyway,
yeah, it's gonna take you this long.
welcome, or see ya
Well,
on the
welcome back
next
to the end
episode
of
of
Dong 64
On
subscribe blocks.
64.